What is up, y'all? So, number one, I didn't record yesterday, and that's okay. We're back today. But number two, my camera fell just now, and the screen is not working. It cracked, so now I have to do a whole replacement. I have the DJI Osmo Pocket 3, so thankfully the replacement is like they have an express service, so you submit the request, you get a replacement quick, and then you send off your old damaged device. So I have to go through that, but I'm smart. So what I decided to do, since I can't see the screen, thankfully DJI has an app where you could see the stuff, so I'm able to control everything right here, even though I can't see the screen, so that's perfect. You gotta think wisely. Today I wanted to talk about how I got into tech and data. So it started back when I was a teen. I remember I got my first laptop. My dad bought me my first laptop. It was like a Dell Inspiron, something like that. And I got it and I loved it. Like I loved just being on the computer. I don't remember what I was doing on the computer. I think it was probably playing games and going on, I don't remember. But I remember it didn't last so long. The computer didn't last too long. I think a couple of years. And then after it just broke down, I decided to like dismantle it. And I loved that process of dismantling it, seeing the different parts that made up that laptop. And I loved computers. I love tech. I love tech gadgets. I remember when the first iPhone came out, and I think 2007, I was like, I need to get this. And I was probably, 14 or 15? And I found a way to get that iPhone, the first iPhone. And I loved it. And I loved anything technical. Going through high school, I didn't really know that I wanted to go into tech and do computer science. It was a lot of different things before it was computer science. At first, I wanted to be a fashion designer. I think I told you guys about that a couple days ago, if you watched those vlogs. But thankfully, I didn't. And then after that, I wanted to be an architect, but then I realized that like being an architect, you have to move certain locations and cities where they need architects, because at the end of the day, land is not unlimited. And at least I think that's how it is. Like architects have to move or work in cities that need them. You know, you can't work in a city that's already densely populated or that doesn't have any growth and doesn't need many architects. At least that's what I thought, or that's the research that I did when I was thinking about what I was going to major in. So then I came up with computer science because I love tech. I love the logical process of tech. I love applications and I just love gadgets. So I said, let's go into software engineering. I also, at the time, loved medicine. I had a heart condition. Basically, I went to the cardiologist every year for a mitral valve prolapse condition. And that made me love medicine too, like the inner weaves of it, which leads me to another side tangent. I always ask people, what's more important, the heart or the brain? What do you think? Let me know in the comments. I always say the heart because you need the heart for the brain to work. Technically, the brain can last a little bit, I think 7 minutes after the heart stops, but it stops. So like you could have a heart and you could be alive, but you'll be a vegetable. So, but anyways, let's back it up. So then I said, all right, I'm going to do pre-med because I wanted to be a pediatric cardiothoracic surgeon. But then I was like, okay, if I don't like that, or if I, like it, but I still want to do, software engineering. I still want to be in tech. So I did both. I was pre-med and I did computer science. After doing that, I then decided to take the MCAT, and this was during COVID. So I was seeing all of the hospitals be inundated, and I was saying to myself, like, I don't think I want to do this anymore. Like, I want work-life balance. I don't want to be in the hospital 80 hours a week. I don't want to devote my life to medical school and to all the 14 years of training that I would need to do to be a pediatric cardiothoracic surgeon. So then I was like, all right, thankfully I have the computer science degree. Let's just go full force with that. So it was kind of a lot because I was so focused on going to medical school. I took the MCAT. I studied hundreds of hours. I had no summers for like 2 years because I was studying, but it worked out for the best. I still was able to get a good job, and I actually went on to do my master's in computer science. And yeah, then I landed my first software engineering job. So that's pretty much how I got into it. And the reason why I got into it was because as a child, I was always passionate about gadgets. I don't know if you remember, but there was a store called Brookstone, I think. as well as Radio Shack. But those were like the two gadget stores. And I always used to love going into those stores. But I like the software route more than I like the hardware route. So I landed on software engineering. I just had to go fix my teeth. I hope you didn't see something stuck in my teeth. And if you did, act like you didn't. That's how I got into tech. How I got into data was a little bit different. So my first job, I started out as a software developer, and it really wasn't a software developer role. I started out as I want to say a DBA, database administrator, because I worked on the database team. And then my manager was like, hey, do you want to help out with Tableau dashboards and data visualization and data analytics? I was like, heck yeah, because I remember in college, my favorite class was SQL. I loved SQL. It was always intriguing. And it's still a programming language. It's just not a software programming language. It's data language. So loved SQL, and I was so happy that, the role that I started out with, which was my first corporate job, was in data. So I was doing a bunch of SQL queries and stuff. And then I got into Tableau, started learning Tableau from scratch, loved it, because I feel like Tableau, it allows you to be creative with your visualizations and then also be analytical and try to make sense of the data. So that's how I got into it, was my manager saying, hey, we need this, we have this use case, we have this business case, do you want to, go into Tableau? And I said, heck yeah. I got into that, and then she loved what I did, and then I got promoted and then was able to do data analytics for the entire org on a larger team. Will I go as far to be a data scientist? I don't know, but the possibility is there. Being a data analyst, or, it's so interesting because you could be a data analyst, a product analyst, a business intelligence analyst. All of those titles really do the same thing. Now, if you're a business intelligence engineer, that's a little bit different because you're doing more ETL, more data mapping and data flow. But yeah, that's how I got into tech. If you're in tech right now, I would love to hear how you got into tech, or if you're trying to get into tech, I would love to hear how your progress is going, if you're in college or if you're taking a boot camp. That's my story. I hope it was helpful. Check out my YouTube channel, Tech Talk with Tyler. I am building out that website right now, so it should be up shortly. If you want to go down the data analytics route, I'll be able to help you. So stay tuned. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.